when you were having those experiences where you're with, you said like 12 years old, 30 plus women, um, boys as well, that are probably moving the ball around a little bit faster. What were your parents like? Like, what was their attitude at the time?
They were very relaxed, very, I think back now and I think about the amount of hours they spent traveling in a car with me for me to get a duck and then and then have to travel back, or for it to rain, or like they were so patient, not pushy at all. They just made sure they provided me with the opportunity to say yes to everything. So obviously as a 12-year-old going and doing an overnight stay, they had to come with me, so that meant them booking a hotel in the same place very often and being very accommodating in that sort of sense. But there was never any pushiness. There was never any you have to do this. It was like, I remember Dad bought us a treadmill and he stuck it in the front room and he said, right, this is here now. If you're serious about your cricket, you're going to get fit. And it was never a case of he watched me go on the treadmill. He just said, here's the tool, like if you want to do it, you will do it.
Your
but
choice.
Here's the opportunity.
Yeah.
And I think that's a really nice way of them parenting, and something that I've probably only appreciated as I've looked back, that actually every decision that I made for myself at that age.
Yeah, that's amazing to hear that. I think I'm experiencing and seeing with schools that I've been in, with clients that I've worked with that are younger, and the parents is a big one. Parents is a really big subject, especially in sports development. It's probably one of the biggest contentious issues, because it's like you never want to tell people how to. I am not a parent. Like, I do not have a child, but I have been the child, so I feel like I do have a horse in this race. So I think for me, and having gone through some of the literature as well, like the most elite athletes that I have seen and read about, and even speaking on this podcast, there is a unanimous sort of theme that's coming up, which is around, my parents supported me. They did not push me. They did not tell me where to be, what to do. They literally set the stand, or they set the bar, and then they let me go. And were your parents, were there discussions around your games? Was there, you're shaking your head already.
Never,
like,
ever.
There's nothing
Never,
you spoke
ever.
about.
It was only if I started that conversation, if I was like, oh, do you think that was the wrong shot? And to be honest, it helps because Mom and Dad never played cricket. Like Dad thinks he did, but he never played for a high level.
You're literally talking about the same experience that I had, right?
Yeah. So he actually didn't know what he was talking about anyway, which is great, because he'd got no experience of being like, oh well, if I was batting, I'd have done this. He didn't. He didn't know. And they were just both very relaxed. If I wanted to talk about it in the car on the way home, I did. They could sense when I was disappointed in, cricket's the worst game for that, isn't it? You can drive 2 hours, get out cheaply, and then have to sit around all day. So you're disappointed enough yourself. You don't need your parents then going, oh, what did you play that shot for? Yeah. I think it's really interesting that similar things have come out when you've been speaking to parents too.
Yeah, well, the more the fact that, like, my parents were the same. They simply let me go, let me get on with it. But I think when you do intervene, when you do, like, cricket is an opinionated, any sport's opinionated, right? Anyone believes they're an expert. That's why we have armchair fans, right? And everyone thinks they can do it better. So I think it's really dangerous for a parent to actually start throwing their own version of opinion before the child has even had an opportunity to figure it out themselves. Because if I think back, if I was literally handed all the answers for me on a plate, then when shit got real and it got tough and my back was against the wall, I would be looking for mum and dad to tell me what to do, tell me the answers. Whereas they just literally let me go get my ass handed to me, or go get some scars, or just really get gritty and have some real tough moments. If it went well, great, awesome. But we've got another game coming up, right? And I think in in the moment you're not thinking about stuff like this, but now on reflection, being older and having a bit more of a conscious brain about it, and go, yeah, that played a huge role in me actually making it to the top. Whereas I think if you offer your opinion and you provide the answer, you're just never going to know how you got there. And it's like teaching. It's like anything that you teach. You don't actually give anyone the answers. You just go tell them where to look, and then they got to figure it out themselves, right? They just they got to figure it out themselves. And I think sports exactly the same. But we want to fix things really quickly, especially in competition. Like you want to be able to. If I give you technical advice now, you're going to be able to do this, and then we'll actually get the results straight away. Whereas actually in the long run, that could be really detrimental. That could be really hard for the athlete. You're not getting an answer. You're not figuring. You're not showing you're working. Literally, like what you used to have to do at school. So it is a big contentious issue, but one that I'm kind of pretty adamant I know which way to go.
Yeah, it's interesting because it's the same with coaches. I think that my favorite coaches have been the ones who've encouraged me to work out the answer. Sometimes, don't get me wrong, there is a place for, your hands are just dropping a bit, like, direct feedback. But actually, you're right, but you don't want to be, out in the middle thinking, what's Lottie thinking about my hands right now? Like, for example, you want to be like, right, this is how it should feel. Does it feel right? Like, and you've got to problem solve yourself, because when you're out there in the middle, if you're batting, you've got your mate at the other end, but largely you've got to be the one that's in charge of your own game. And I think that starts from when you're a kid and you've got to work out, what you're doing right, what you're doing wrong from such a young age.